inspired by people around the world? Because I know that Singapore has been a little bit behind like the European countries and maybe even the UK in terms of
Yeah.
platforms like this. Were you inspired, and did you speak to such people, or what was the journey like for you?
I didn't speak with any of them, but I was definitely inspired. And you're right, Singapore is about 5 years behind, sadly, in a lot of these areas. So for example, I saw a website in the UK that had a lot of this information, and definitely in the US you have even listed company, okay, but huge companies that are doing this across the US.
Wow.
Australia has its own version as well, but they all turn out slightly differently. Oh wait, in Japan there's one such platform that's even a listed company. So
Wow.
they, because I think they have like 8,000 lawyers or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they have these platforms in other countries, and I was definitely inspired by what I saw. And but then so you're inspired by them. Somehow Singapore Legalize, I guess, turned out slightly different from them. Like it just, because I think because of our market size, because of the market needs, whatever, it just turned out slightly differently in terms of the exact services that you're providing. Yeah.
So in what way are you different from like the Japanese companies or the US companies?
I mean, the Japanese company, I think their main business was really to about the same. Like you do lawyer advertisements, and they put you in touch with a lawyer. They had a very good FAQ section. I think it was by the lawyers.
Mm,
But I mean, for me, when we're thinking about FAQ for Singapore Legal Advice, it's really challenging. It seemed much easier to write the articles ourselves, because an FAQ is first you have to build a system for it, and then you need to have active people using it,
mm.
like active lawyers who are answering questions, and that's going to be a real challenge. I have no idea how they did it. I think because they have a much bigger pool of lawyers, and the lawyers I think get some incentive for
Commission.
answering. Maybe I'm not sure about commission, but they they basically get points, maybe that makes them more prominent, like in some kind of leaderboard and all
I
that.
see.
That I was just thinking, given the smaller market size in Singapore, smaller total numbers, it probably wasn't going to be like make sense doing a whole platform to do FAQs when we can just answer the more common questions ourselves,
Yeah.
like as in the form of articles, even perhaps by lawyers, but maybe not as an FAQ kind of platform.
Yeah. So what is the SingaporeLegalAdvice.com? What kind of services do you offer?
Right now, we connect people to lawyers. So that's by two ways. One is called our Find a Lawyer service, where people can get competitive quotes from up to 5 lawyers for a service that they need. The second way is a Call a Lawyer, where people can get can buy a consultation online for a 20-minute phone consultation. So a lawyer will call them after they have paid for their consultation. And we find that these are complementary, because there are many cases where the lawyers, there are those cases where the lawyers don't want to think about an issue unless they are being paid for it, because uh, it takes them effort and maybe a bit of research just to answer the guy. And at that point, the guy is not sure enough to pay a large amount yet. So that's the kind of mismatch there. And this call lawyer is meant to solve that. So the user pays a small amount, which is now $59, for the lawyer to kind of give some preliminary advice on what he should do, and maybe whether he should get a lawyer and how much would it cost, and things like that. Yeah, so
Mm.
it plugs a gap there. So that's for connecting with lawyers. Then on the other side, we also do we have the we are selling contract templates, and we are also selling a will maker, so people can do a DIY will on Singapore Legal Advice. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing and is it for a reasonable like amount of money that they can make a will?
Yeah, so it's $89. They make a will, and then after that they print it out and get it signed in front of witnesses, and then it's a valid will for them.
That's amazing because I mean, a will at $89 is very reasonable. I
Yeah,
think you'd find that most law firms would not charge that price.
yeah, it would. So we call it a DIY will because you have to DIY more things. Yeah,
Yeah.
but in exchange for that, you get a transparent pricing and you can get some more convenience as well.
Mm. Wow, that's great. So what's next for the business?
Actually, we're still growing in terms of the for example, the contract templates that we offer. There's still room for an increase of that. In terms of I think even for the core lawyer service, we are thinking of further refining it to offer to have more lawyers on this platform and to make things more seamless for our users.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think this is the primary way that we're going to grow this year.
that's
Yeah.
great. I think, would you be able to comment on some lawyers are a bit reluctant to do like a phone conversation to someone they don't know for 20 minutes because they're scared that they might open themselves up to liability and things like that. How do you allay their fears?
I'm not expert on legal
Mm.
professional rules. I think what drives people who use this service is that they can see they're confident enough in their abilities, and they can look more at against like what these people need and weigh against the risk. Because
Hmm.
I suppose if you were to record the conversations, or if you were to just have a note down what this person said, then the I guess the risk is less, since this is a really preliminary conversation, and for anything else you can get a person to either call you again or actually to come to sign the
Warrant to
letter of
act.
yeah, the
Yeah.
warrant to act. This is all before that.
Yeah.
The only thing we actually do to help out is to have a blank for the person to fill in, like who are the who are the other parties, so that in case there's a conflict of interest or whatever, then the lawyer can recuse himself from that. But
Okay.
otherwise, I think we see it more as you're just popping into a law firm, you just want to ask a few questions, then well, what is the risk there? Like who has been punished for just something as simple as uh like answering a question for a small sum of money that this person actually needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I think that's wonderful. And are you using AI at all in your business?
Currently, no. I think we are using more. I think our innovations are more in terms of user interface. Like
Mm.
how do you bridge these two parties together, and it's very industry specific. So, for example, the part about the core lawyer, the role that it has to play, we only discovered it kind of like last year after kind of we got some feedback that this guy, he was very unhappy because he used our service to get a quotation from the lawyers, but the lawyers were he felt that they were just just giving him quotations and they were not really listening to him.
Mm.
But that is natural to expect because the lawyers at that point, they are not invested in it and they have no incentive to really take a look at it. But when we introduced the call lawyer service to him, then he was really happy with it. He said that it gave him a lot of insight and he was willing to pay a small amount of money for that. Yeah,
Mm.
so we're looking to to maybe to open it up to try and promote it a bit more to people as a solution for, especially now, maybe because of COVID-19, and you got a lot of employment inquiries. And employment inquiries are something like, lawyers are not really going to earn a lot from that. They know it themselves, but they're willing to, for some small sum of money to just advise, give some general advice on how they should act and what are their rights under the law.